Would you like to learn how to stay motivated? Well, by the end of this video, you'll learn 3 secrets to keep your motivation at the level it needs to be. Hi, I'm Eric Partaker, and I've been recognized as one of the top entrepreneurs in the country, as well as the CEO of the Year. I'm also the author of 2 best-selling books, including The 3 Alarms. And most importantly for you, I've helped thousands of people realize their full potential in work and life. And I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and also tick the notification bell below so that you never miss a future video. So the number one thing that you need to do to stay motivated is flip the script. Things are often the opposite of what you think them to be. So the first thing in this department is to always focus on starting rather than finishing. When we say to ourselves, I have to finish something, it immediately feels overwhelming. You're using language of like oppression. You have to do something. You have to finish it, and finishing can feel like completely endless. And it's much more empowering to instead use the language, I choose to start for just 5 minutes. That is a way to stay more motivated, because when you choose, you don't need to want to or like doing it, but you're also not having to do it. You're just making a choice. And by choosing to start rather than finish, well, starting can take just a second, whereas finishing can be endless. And by just using those words for just 5 minutes, it makes it feel all the less daunting. Now, the truth is, when I get started on something and I choose to start for just 5 minutes, I never know when the 5 minutes go by. So first secret here with flipping the script is don't focus on the finish, focus on the start instead, because if you just focus on starting, the finishing will eventually take care of itself. The other thing that you can do with regards to flipping the script is to view correctly action versus feeling. And I want you to take a professional versus an amateur mindset here, because an amateur believes that feeling generates action, whereas a professional knows that action generates feeling. So often you may not feel motivated in the moment to do a particular thing, but if you just start acting, those feelings of motivation start to develop. It's sort of like you're pushing a big boulder, right? And then as it starts to go down the hill, it starts to gain momentum and gets a speed of its own. But don't wait around to feel like doing things. Instead, choose to start for just 5 minutes, and then that act of taking action will typically generate the momentous feeling that you need to keep going with whatever it's doing. So number 1 was flipping the script. The number 2 way to stay motivated is to recognize that there is a science to motivation and an equation that underpins that science. And that equation says that there's 2 things that we need to maximize and 2 things that we need to minimize in order to stay motivated. The 2 things that we need to maximize is the value of whatever it is that we're working on. So we need to clearly define what's the why here. Why are we working on it? What benefit does it have for us? What benefit does it have for others? And then we also need to maximize the expectancy, which is just a complicated way of saying our self-belief and being able to do whatever that thing is. And there's multiple ways that you can increase your expectancy or your self-belief. One is, for example, referencing something in the past that maybe had a similar challenge or difficulty level that you could use as a reference point to indicate to yourself that you're capable of doing whatever it is that you're working on in the moment. You could also be looking at other people who have achieved a similar thing to whatever you're working on as evidence that if others have done it, so can I. And then last but not least, you might want to enlist the support of other people around you to support and help you and make you believe or help you with that self-belief, that expectancy to get the job done. So maximize the value and the expectancy. And as I said, there's 2 things we also need to seek to minimize, and they include our impulsivity, which is just a complicated way of saying we need to minimize our likelihood of being distracted. So if there's something you want to stay particularly motivated to work on, well, the worst thing you can do is to do that work in an environment that distracts you, or especially with anything that you know you are prone to distraction with, such as your phone or any other device or thing that's within eyesight. So out of sight, out of mind, anything that might distract you or lead to more impulsive behavior, get that out. We want to minimize that stuff to increase and maintain our motivation. And then the last thing in the motivation equation that we want to minimize is what they refer to as delay. And delay is simply the amount of time it takes from where we are right now today to our first taste of success on our way to achieving whatever the goal is. So if we want to increase our motivation, what we should do is chunk down that goal small enough so that we taste success, we taste our first milestone sooner rather than later. Because if it's too far off in the distance, that first opportunity, that first taste of success, we're unlikely to stay motivated, or less likely to stay motivated in the long term. So in summary, to increase our motivation, number 2 was respect the motivation equation. It will help us stay motivated, maximize the value of what you're doing, the expectancy as well, and minimize the impulsivity and the delay. Last but not least, to stay motivated, we need to create accountability. And how do we create accountability? Well, we can create accountability with ourselves and with the help of others. And I'll give you an example of how you can create accountability for yourself. If there is something that you are working on that is particularly important to you to stay motivated towards, then I'd like you to think about how can you break down whatever that goal is into something that you can do daily and something that you can track. So for example, if you want to get into better shape, well then what's the minimum amount of exercise, even if it was just stretching, that you could do on a daily basis? And can you put that up on the wall, perhaps in the form of a calendar where you just put an X in every single day that you do the activity that you're trying to do to stay motivated towards? And your simple game is don't break the streak, as many X's as possible. And if you do fall down, that's okay, but just make sure you rebound, never 2 misses in a row. The last thing that you can do with regards to accountability is also have an accountability partner. Accountability partner could be a friend, a family member, a team member, but it needs to be somebody that you'll reliably meet once a week, make your commitments about what you're going to be working on in the week ahead, and also report against your progress for what you worked on the previous week. So in summary, flip the script, respect the motivation equation, and tap into the power of accountability with yourself and through another person. So if you like this video, make sure you hit like down below. Also, leave a comment. I would love to know, what's your number 1 takeaway from how to stay motivated? And if you think somebody could benefit from this video, please share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video in the future. And I have a free gift for you. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can download a free digital copy of my new Amazon best-selling book, The 3 Alarms.